That's the reason he got 77 million votes and was twice elected.
So if Joe Biden were to have done that and mistaken Greenland for Iceland,
Joe Biden
you guys would have been
do an hour
calling
and 15 minute
25th Amendment.
With
You guys would have been
asides.
calling for his impeachment.
If he did his Trump impression?
If he gave word for word the same speech that Donald Trump gave today,
it would be the most backbone he has shown
Republicans
in
would
front of a large
calling for his
international
wasn't men in white uniforms would have rushed the stage and put him into a straitjacket
I will tell you
and
this.
put him in a padded room for the rest of the day.
Well, I'm not going to go there.
In today's video, Abby Phillip shuts down TW Arrighi on NewsNight, with Abby Phillip as Ana Navarro joins the firestorm over Donald Trump's latest speech and the growing concerns about credibility, misinformation, and leadership on the world stage. Abby Phillip and Ana Navarro press hard on the pattern of factual blunders, exaggerated claims, and the double standard in how Trump's rhetoric gets excused, while TW Arrighi attempts to defend the narrative. The clash turns into a sharp reality check about accountability and truth in politics. So let's dive in and watch how Abby Phillip shuts down TW Arrighi on NewsNight with Abby Phillip.
President Trump filled his speech today at the World Economic Forum with his usual laundry list of false claims. You know, rigged elections, stopping 8 wars, and then he peppered in some fictional figures to just straight up strange things. Listen.
Domestic steel production is up by 300,000 tons a month. We've secured commitments for a record-breaking $18 trillion, more than $19 billion in fraud that was stolen by Somalian bandits. You know, they're pirates. Windmills all over the place. Destroy your land. Destroy your land. Without us, most of the countries don't even work. Without us, right now, you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps.
As he speaks in a German-speaking part of Switzerland, but okay. Most notably, though, this was the flub that got a lot of attention.
I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days, when I told them about Iceland, they loved me. They called me daddy, right, last time. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
Iceland. Well, here is Trump's arch nemesis, Gavin Newsom, and his take on it.
No other president, he's held to the curve. He's graded on a curve. I mean, it's really some jaw-dropping and remarkable statements that just, fly in the face of facts and evidence and common sense.
Tara Palmieri is here with us at the table. Tara, is he graded on a curve?
Oh, yeah, that is just like mental sludge. No one that goes to the World Economic Forum speaks like that, just off the cuff, blasting out just complete false stats and just insults everyone. I mean, it's like, this is a very refined crowd. I mean, it is the elites, but they come prepared. They're not just like riffing. I mean, this was just stream of consciousness, insanity. And we're supposed to be taken seriously?
TW, how do we explain this?
That's Donald Trump. That's the reason he got 77 million votes and was twice elected.
So if Joe Biden were to have done that and mistaken Greenland for Iceland,
Joe Biden
you guys would have been calling 25th Amendment. You guys would have been calling for his impeachment.
If he did his Trump impression?
If he gave word for word the same speech that Donald Trump gave today,
it would be the most backbone he has shown
Republicans
in
would
front of a large
calling for his
international.
Men in white uniforms would have rushed the stage and put him into a straitjacket and put him in a padded room for the rest of the day.
Well, I'm not going to go there.
When you step back from the shouting, the bigger issue Tara Palmieri and Ana Navarro are orbiting is credibility, not vibes. The World Economic Forum crowd is made up of central bankers, defense officials, and corporate leaders who make decisions based on data integrity. When a US president throws out numbers that don't match public treasury reports or industry output statistics, markets don't laugh it off. They price in instability, which is why credibility becomes an economic asset, not a talking point. There's also the alliance angle people gloss over. NATO coordination, trade agreements, and security pacts run on predictability. Intelligence sharing and joint military planning depend on partners trusting that statements from Washington reflect reality, not improvisation. When messaging looks erratic, allies hedge. They diversify defense suppliers, reopen energy deals elsewhere, and build parallel coalitions. That slow drift weakens US leverage far more than any one speech, and it's a pattern diplomats have quietly warned about for years behind the scenes for decades. Domestically, this stuff matters too. Studies on political communication show repeated exposure to false or exaggerated claims lowers public trust in institutions overall, not just in one politician. That erosion hits everything from disaster response compliance to faith in elections and public health guidance. So the concern isn't style points or who sounds sharper on TV, it's that leadership language shapes how seriously the country and the world treat American power. That's the cost people like Tara Palmieri and Ana Navarro are flagging.
Joe Biden's mental acuity and whatever.
But for real, TW, honestly.
Yeah.
The president of the United States, on 4 separate occasions, mixed up Greenland with Iceland. He made up statistics about all sorts of things. How is that not something that is of concern to everybody in this country?
Because this is the same speech he would have given last year, the year before that. This is his brand. This is the type
he wanted
of
to
leader he is.
invade Greenland, and he called it Iceland. They looked at plans. They're talking about a framework for
going back to Joe Biden,
Iceland
as though he didn't have any thoughts like that.
These are serious conversations.
The disappointing part about the tenor of this conversation is that we laugh it off and we excuse it as just Donald Trump, or he's something he would have done before. The comparison I look at is that Donald Trump's mental acuity, even before he aged, was mediocre at best. It's somebody who came from a failed business background. It's somebody who believes that they were born, that they hit a home run, they were born on third base. His daddy gave him $1 million to start his business, right? This is somebody who's failed and failed and failed. The people around him, Lindsay Halligan can't even call herself a United States lawyer anymore. Mediocre at best. Dr. Oz is making decisions about CMS. Elon Musk has no idea about bureaucracy and government. Let me finish. Elon Musk has no idea about bureaucracy and government. You let him dissemble USAID. You're talking about RFK, the man who says he has a worm that ate his brain is now having a measles outbreak in South Carolina because he is over our health and human services. See, my biggest problem is that Barack Obama, for example, Barack Obama had to be editor-in-chief of the Harvard Law Review. Barack Obama had to be a United States senator. You all gave Barack Obama hell because he had a selfie stick and wore a brown suit. But yet and still, this man comes on stage in front of the world and he rambles and he misspeaks and he says this. And he could have said that we solved the war between Wakanda and Namor, right? And the Republicans would have been like, oh, yeah, I'm glad we stopped that African country.
Can we just agree that men over 80 start to ramble and sound crazy, and that is why we also got a lot of slip-ups from Biden?
He's been rambling for a lot longer than that.
Let me just play. This is Ty Cobb, Trump's former lawyer, talking to Aaron Burnett tonight about what he saw today.
When you zoom out from the TV theatrics, what Abby Phillip and Bakari Sellers are circling is a leadership standards issue the US hasn't faced this bluntly in modern media cycles. Presidential remarks at global forums aren't just speeches, they become signals to markets, intelligence partners, and defense planners within minutes. Analysts at banks run risk models that factor in leader stability and message consistency. When language sounds off script or factually shaky, those models spike risk premiums, which can raise borrowing costs and rattle currencies. There's also the alliance management piece people underestimate. After World War II, US influence was built on institutional reliability, NATO Article 5, Bretton Woods systems, long-term basing agreements. Scholars who study deterrence say credibility is cumulative and slow to rebuild once doubt creeps in. If allies start wondering whether statements reflect planning or impulse, they hedge by deepening ties with regional blocs, boosting domestic arms production, or pursuing energy independence faster. That diffusion of alignment reduces Washington's leverage without a treaty collapsing. On the home front, communication style affects civic trust more than people think. Political psychology research shows repeated exposure to confident but inaccurate claims increases polarization and decreases shared factual baselines. That makes bipartisan policymaking harder on things that should be routine, like disaster aid, infrastructure funding, or vaccine guidance. So the concern Abby Phillip and Baikari Sellers are channeling isn't about TV optics. It's about how leadership tone ripples through institutions, alliances, and everyday governance capacity over time in the real world.
This is a man who is demented, and his narcissism has run amok. And I don't think there's anybody outside the boundaries of the United States who believes for a second that Trump is sane at this stage of the game. And those in the United States are merely in denial or so invested in him they can't accept what their lying eyes tell them.
And some of those people that he's talking about are also telling Americans not to see what they actually saw. Caroline Levitt flat out denied that he mixed up Greenland and Iceland. He said his written remarks referred to Greenland as a piece of ice because that's what's in it. You're the one mixing something up.
He was calling Greenland Iceland.
Yeah,
land of...
Look, I don't know. I'm sorry, but like Caroline Levitt is straight up lying there. Is she expecting Americans to believe that the piece of paper said a piece of ice and then Trump said Iceland 4 times?
It's funny, obviously everything you've said is correct. He messed up, he called it Iceland. I've never once heard him say the word Azerbaijan correctly, but that doesn't mean that he did not bring peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Like, the fact that he cannot be bothered to pronounce it correctly doesn't mean that the record isn't there. It doesn't mean that he didn't cut our deficit by 20% in 1 year. It doesn't mean that he didn't actually bring $18 trillion committed.
It actually does mean. I mean, look,
it doesn't.
The White House's own. Hold on. The White House's own website, Batia, says that major investment announcements during this Trump term was $9.6 trillion. So even his own administration is saying that is not true.
No, that's the website. But I mean, I can tell you who has made the commitment.
So you can't trust WhiteHouse.gov?
I don't know what to say.
I can tell you who the leaders are who have committed them. They are built into the actual trade deals, like South Korea, Saudi Arabia, the UAE. I'm literally reciting facts to you of things that he's done, and you're telling me like, I trying to recite the actual list of accomplishments.
This is not
for example,
hold on. This is not a debate about his
For example, banning banks from owning single-family
It's actually not a debate about his accomplishments. It's a debate about whether he can give a speech while actually telling the truth.
But that's
the question.
No, but listen, what Gavin Newsom said was that he gets graded on a curve. And I think there is no discussion that Donald Trump gets away with doing things and saying things that no other normal precedent or human being would get away with. He's amassed a $1.4 billion bridge.
That's the record that you guys won't let me.
You're absolutely correct about that. I remember that from 5th grade. Iceland is green, Greenland is ice. Just remember that, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. Up next.
What stands out in this clash is the gap between vibes and verifiable reality. Abby Phillip and Ana Navarro are tapping into something political scientists track closely. Democratic credibility depends on a shared baseline of facts. When leaders repeat inflated numbers or fuzzy claims, fact checkers aren't nitpicking. They're guarding the informational infrastructure markets and institutions rely on. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, for example, has repeatedly shown deficit trends are driven mostly by structural factors like tax policy and entitlement growth, not one-off negotiating genius. There's also the foreign policy myth-making piece. Major peace breakthroughs, like the Dayton Accords or the Camp David framework, involve years of multilateral groundwork, career diplomats, and regional buy-in. They don't materialize from a single personality force. On investment claims, economists distinguish between memorandums of understanding and actual capital deployed. Global firms routinely announce splashy figures that never fully materialize. That's not partisan, it's standard business practice, which is why governments track realized FDI, not press release totals. And the graded on a curve idea is real in media research. Studies on partisan perception show voters judge in-party figures more on intention and out-party figures more on precision and tone. That asymmetry lowers accountability thresholds over time. The concern Abby Phillip and Ana Navarro are aligned with isn't about gaffes for comedy value, it's about normalization. When exaggeration becomes expected, oversight weakens, watchdog fatigue sets in, and institutions absorb the cost from bond markets to public health messaging long after the TV segment ends. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out Ground News in the description down below.